What's up, beautiful people of YouTube? Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Finalmouse Ultralight. I have the Sunset Edition here. Right off the bat, you may be wondering what's the difference between the Sunset Edition and the black or white. The only difference is the coating on the top part of the mouse. I'll get into that a little bit more later on, but in short, I would say buy the color of the mouse you like the most. Taking a look at what you get inside the box, you get the mouse, of course, a card explaining the DPI steps, and they do include an extra pair of mouse feet, which is nice. Similar to Zowie, Finalmouse has taken a very simplistic approach here. You won't find any RGB lights, and there's technically no officially supported software. Taking a look at the mouse, the first thing you'll probably notice is its honeycomb shell design. With this, they were able to achieve something impressive, a large mouse weighing in at only about 70 grams. Most large mice like the Zowie EC1A or Razer Death Adder Elite weigh in at about 100 grams. Even the Logitech G403 weighs 90. It might not sound like much, but a 20 to 30% reduction in weight is very noticeable in the hand. Thankfully, Finalmouse did a nice job with the shape. It's an ambidextrous design with side buttons on the left only. As I mentioned before, it is a large mouse. Here you can see it next to a few others to give you a general idea of its size. The Ultralight has about the same length as the Zowie ZA11 and the Razer Death Adder Elite. It also has about the same width as the Logitech G403. So if you like the G403 but felt it was too short, or if you like the Death Adder Elite but felt it was too wide, the Ultralight is a good in-between. For reference, I have 20.5 by 10.5 centimeter hands, and I was able to claw grip it quite comfortably. Unfortunately, it did seem a little small for palm grip, but given that I always use some variation of claw, it wasn't really an issue for me. The Ultralight actually ended up being one of the more comfortable mice I've ever used. I think there are a couple reasons for that. First, the size of the mouse just suits my hand almost perfectly. Secondly, the mouse is just so light, your wrist doesn't have to work nearly as hard to be moving it around. Another thing that adds to the comfort are the button grooves on mouse 1 and 2. This is something I love to see on all mice. Moving on to the buttons themselves, this is something that impressed me. Finalmouse really nailed it here. The buttons are crisp and tactile, just like you'd want them to be. In my opinion, they're up there with some of the best, like the Logitech G403s. This same quality is continued on the side buttons. Their placement is also quite good. Resting just above my thumb, it never felt awkward trying to press one of them in, as it has in the past with a few other mice. I don't have much to complain about the scroll wheel either. It has a decent rubber coating, and overall it feels pretty solid. I have heard of a couple people's breaking, but with the 3-year warranty you get on this mouse, I'm not too concerned. Next to the scroll wheel, you'll find the DPI button, and as you may have seen from the card earlier, there are 4 preset DPIs, 400, 800, 1600, and 3200. One minor complaint I have is that there's no LED indicator telling you what DPI you're on. Unfortunately, the cable is braided, but it holds its shape so well that it actually wasn't an issue for me. I was able to prop it up in the Zowie Kamade bungee, so it never actually made contact with my mouse pad. I can see the cable being a minor nuisance for people who don't use a mouse bungee, so keep that in mind. Earlier I mentioned that the coating on the Sunset Edition was different than the black or white. Basically, the entire top part of the mouse that's orange feels like a somewhat soft rubber. In the black or white edition, it's just all hard plastic. The reason I say to just choose by color is because the material on the top part of the mouse really doesn't affect grip all that much. If the sides were different, then it might actually matter, because that's really where you're gripping the mouse. And honestly, the shape is just so good, I would be happy with the black or white edition. The only reason I chose orange is because I like that color the most. Moving on, I did briefly want to talk about the sensor. The Ultralight is equipped with the PixArt 3360 sensor, and if you've watched any of my other mouse reviews, you know that this is one of the best you can get. Basically, all the top mice out there use this sensor, or some variation of it. I'm happy to report that Finalmouse's implementation of it seems spot on. I never experienced any spinouts or loss of tracking. Overall, the sensor felt very snappy, on par with the Logitech G403. It's worth noting that the polling rate out of the box is set to 500 Hz, and there's no button on the mouse to change that. Despite the fact that most other top mice use a polling rate of 1000 Hz, honestly this was a non-issue for me, and I really couldn't tell a difference. There is a small workaround though.
Supposedly you can use the DM1 Pro Assist software to change the polling rate and even the DPI. Keep in mind that this software is not officially supported by Finalmouse, so your mileage may vary. Next, I just wanted to mention the mouse feet real quickly, since I'd read some complaints about them. To me, they're above average, actually better than the Logitech G403s and Razer DeathAdder Elites. So if your mouse feet seem to be dragging or scraping across the mouse pad, I would recommend you contact Finalmouse and get it exchanged. All in all, there's really not a lot to complain about here. The shape, buttons, sensor, and weight are all excellent. If you have a medium to large size hand, I almost have a hard time not recommending this mouse to you because I love it so much. It's the only mouse I can confidently say I prefer over the Logitech G403. It's probably just my neurotic nature, but in the past, it always felt like I could blame a part of my performance in gaming on the mouse. But with the Finalmouse Ultralight, it's like I've run out of excuses. The mouse just suits me so well. I know I'm praising this mouse a lot, but try to keep in mind that mice are very subjective.
Just because I love it doesn't guarantee you will too, but obviously it's a top recommendation.
Anyway, that's going to wrap up my review. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please do go ahead and click that like button. It is appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next one.